Thank you for having me here and having that opportunity to show you a little bit about the underworld in Vietnam. And I want to cite the expedition leader Howard Limbert, who said, to find a giant cave like Hang Son Doong in Vietnam is something like you find a previously unknown Mount Everest compared to mountains. And he added, and we still just scratch the surface. So we don't know exactly what is underneath these giant limestone plateaus, and it's an unknown world, and it was a major discovery done in 2009, and we revisited it in 2010, and we explored it more, and we wanted to continue fault lines and even get into maybe even bigger systems. Anyway, it gave me some hair-rouse in the beginning, because I knew that these were the biggest passages we know of, and the biggest black holes on our planet. So how should I photograph it? How should I light it? So I will tell you more, and we'll start the show. Yeah, just to give you an orientation where we are in central Vietnam, around here. That's the Phong Nha Ke Bang National Park. It is a huge limestone plateau. It's the biggest in Asia. All the gray part is limestone rock. And we have different river systems here with cave entrances in red. The Wom system here in green, here in violet. These are subterranean rivers with different cave entrances known. And there is the Hang Son Doong situated, the biggest cave passage we found. Just in general, to give you an idea how the landscape looks like, so these are the edges of this limestone plateau. It's a very pretty cone cast or tower cast. So we find some nice ponds where the people water their buffaloes, and it is very fertile land there, so they grow rice, and very, very picturesque and scenic landscape. But also, I mean, the mountains are very rugged and very difficult to explore. And this is also the edge of these systems. So just to make a mile, a horizontal mile, means you have to go up and down and over really sharp, razor blade sharp rocks. And it's a long way. Sometimes you need just a whole day to do a mile. That is the problem, that it's so remote. And out from that plateau, huge rivers come out. They were first subterranean and come to the surface, and they are more or less the life vein for the people, and they wash their water buffaloes or kids playing around, or for the fishermen. So it's really where the life takes place. And that is our main village where we're based off. So it's called Son Trac. It made a huge development the last 10 years. So we have some concrete buildings, and from there we stream out into the forest. So there's a lot of bushwalking. We had fantastic assistance with bushmen, jungle men, who ported us our goods over very steep, rugged terrain. It's always, well, if you are in front of that row, you have to hack your way through the bush. You face a lot of spider nets, and well, in between you can see some nice poisonous snakes or some centipedes. And if you are in the end of the row, you get all the leeches who are detecting something is coming, and so the leeches will crawl up onto your body and into your clothes. So For me, Vietnam is the country of butterflies. So it is amazing, it's overwhelming. You see butterflies everywhere. And as many butterflies you see, and as beautiful they are, that many caterpillars you have too. And they are hairy, and they have urticating hairs and whatever, and that is exactly what happened to Howard. He just put his wetsuit out there underneath a tree, and all the caterpillars fell in and lost their hairs and whatever. So he got rid of them, just went into his wetsuit and wanted to do a cave, and then everything got irritating in his back and painful, and it was stinging, and it was poisonous and whatever. So he had a really hard time. He had to get out of the cave. He had to finish everything. It was really painful. The porters were laughing at him, but then they realized it was more serious than that, and he's in a really awkward situation and has pain, and they have to do something about it, and they put him on fire, and with a lot of warmth, eventually after 4 or 5 hours, the pain was receding, and he had a tough time anyway. So little stories besides. But that's what you experience on an expedition like this. But it's incredible. I mean, the variety of butterflies, and sometimes they are big like birds, and they really surprise you with iridescent wings, and really it's amazing. So, and for cave exploring, you have to follow any lead, any little fissure, and in the beginning it's quite difficult to find really major systems. So you can't see it like a mountain. You have to crawl into anything what is kind of opening. And unfortunately, we have been very unlucky on that trip. So it was a lot of effort, a lot of walking, but without really the big results. So we find only marginal descent. So probably if you go further in, maybe there are the big systems, but you never know exactly. So we had something like 20-meter drops, and that was it. So it was always disappointing. On the other hand, we've met these kind of people. It is in Phong Nha Bang National Park. It's a World Heritage Site, but still there are these illegal loggers and also illegal hunters. So it's amazing how much they carry. These are maybe 100-pound men who are carrying 200 pounds on their back on this very ragged landscape with their plastic sandals. It's incredible how they manage it. Here we are on the entrance. It's like a living thing. That cave breathes and has clouds inside, so everything comes out, and it's almost like a storm, and moves the leaves, and it's a kind of a cold wind. And for me as a photographer, it was always kind of tricky to have to deal with so much fog. I didn't reckon with that, and I had to somehow live with that, because there was always some sort of condensation, and it was tricky to get some clear view. Especially here in the entrance, there was a lot of condensation. When the cool air comes out of the cave, it just condensate. And well, soon in the beginning, what I showed now is a little gallery. There were already this beautiful and impressive, huge stars. And I did what I could do with illuminating this kind of situations. Despite this fog, it was pretty impressive to see how also it changes with different light settings. So I overlaid some images to give you an idea how you can visualize these sort of rooms. But it was a very beautiful entry. And then we come into this huge gallery, and this is half a mile away. That is called Hands of Dog. And after that is the view to the first tow line, which is another half mile away. So it's actually 1 kilometer or one mile towards the opening. and you have these giant, giant stalls. I mean, that is like more than a 10-story building, this stalagmite. And here you have, as a comparison, a person. Yeah, it's absolutely unbelievable, these dimensions. And it's difficult to put that in scale. So now I changed the position to exactly where that man stands, and we see in the back far these little stalls, but these are the big ones we have seen just in the last frame. So it just gives you an idea how big these rooms are, and that is half a mile to these big stalls, and we needed like 14 people to light this gallery. Yeah, that was very, very tricky, and to light it in that way that the fog doesn't reflect the light. So it was pretty challenging to make that shot. And we had, of course, a lot of problems also in terms of communication, because there were a lot of Vietnamese. You can imagine what it means to get that somehow coordinated, and with only a low number of radios, and then it should be translated and whatever. It was just a mess. And well, here we are close now to the first sinkhole, and the pictures change from the natural light setting towards little artificial ads, which shows you how big some of these rocks are, which are just fallen from the ceiling. Yeah, they are several-story buildings which just fall from the ceiling. So these dimensions are really unbelievable. And then just these little stalls next to the person, you can figure out how big it is. And then there was something very, very strange, what I have never seen before like that. It's a so-called phytocast, and these are microorganisms who actively attract calcite, and they grow. It's some kind of a growing stone, and this grows towards the light. These microorganisms, they build their own castle and their hard shell with rock, and just it's growing rock against light. It's absolutely amazing. So here we have the dim light of the first line again, and you see the size of these boulders. It's just massive, everything. Yeah, you see a little of the forest on the top, and there are hanging vines, and some look like petrified icicles. And down there you have a giant. It's also a phytocast stalagmite in a way, and it's over and overgrown with plants. And this is the place they called "Watch out for dinosaurs." And somehow I knew why. I wouldn't have wondered if someone looks around the edge and roars, and there are some crazy sounds too. And here you see again this kind of rocks, yeah, which form around the plants, and the plants are completely adapted to that. So it's rock hard, their stems, and to me, very fascinating. Yeah. I would love to know the biology behind it. Here you see that's this massive stall in the middle. It's about 200 feet high, and all built up by these microorganisms. So in rainy season there is a waterfall coming, or if it rains, a waterfall coming down, and you see that this is the plant grows, which influence the stone, and this is like wings, like fingers, which grows towards light. Yeah, it's not like a normal rock formation. So that was pretty beautiful, and it's always like where water comes down, where the plants can get the calcite from, and then they grow against the light, and you have really strange formations. That is the view from above. And you look down in a huge gallery. That gallery is maybe 300 feet high. Yeah, these dimensions are exceptional. And just to light it is also a challenge. And you have this big gauze in the front. And then you have this crazy balconies in this shaft. So these plates, they were like 6 meters, that's maybe 18 feet, 20 feet into the room. So these are also kind of growing rocks, and all phenomena due to the phytocast. And then we witnessed a thunderstorm going over us, and it rumbled and it echoed, and suddenly you hear splashing and rumbling and water coming, like water filling pipes, and everything sounded like in another dimension. And suddenly this phytocast things, they spit water, like and waterfalls came out, and I reacted fast to arrange for shots, and who knows how long it takes. But that was pretty amazing to find suddenly these waterfalls. Normally it should frighten you, because, I mean, to have a water break in like this is almost, or in a cave, always quite dangerous. But this cave is so big that you don't need to be afraid that the water can kind of close you in, or that you might drown or whatever. So was not the issue, but it was overwhelming. I mean, you could imagine the noise. I mean, it was splashing, it was roaring, and it was, very loud, difficult to communicate, difficult to tell what to do and how to light and whatever. So it was a running, jumping, and fast reactions. So, and now you see how I deal with the light, and I give you some different ideas how this giant phytocast tower looked like in different lighted situations. So we have some underwater light, some above water light, and effectively it was a quite misty day as usual, and quite tricky to get something. And just that you get the relation on top of this huge tower of phytocast. There's standing a person. It's just enormous. It's always incredible to realize these dimensions. Yeah. And then we are walking through that gallery, and we coming into this dim range of the next door line, which is called Garden of Eden. And also there we begin to see these low light formations with this phytocast formations where some mosses and whatever grow against the light. Very beautiful. And the further you get into that door line, the crazier these shapes get. And here we see again some microorganisms forming and growing towards the light. Here we see these whitish areas. That is where the microorganisms grow against the light. And that's the natural light. And then I front lit the same situation, and you see now where the chlorophyll is and where the receptive areas are for photosynthesis. Here the same in a detail. It looks like the surface of Mars. It looks so extraterrestrial. That is done with natural light, by the way. And if I add front light, it looks like that. Yeah. It's a really, really crazy formation. So I love to explore this type of things, where I have never heard anything about it or seen anything about it. And you stumble about this. In the beginning, I couldn't believe it. I mean, it was rock hard stem, and there was this little fern on top. And it looks like it's growing on pavement. It's rock, everything is rock, the stem is rock, and there's little green, I mean, it looks like fossils, really like the Jurassicum, but it's green on top. And it's not petrified, it's living, and wisely living very well there. Yeah, that's relative to the nettle. It's a Utica, which is kind of strange because it doesn't look at all similar. And then you have these communities of in the phytocast. So all these different colors, the light green, dark green, reddish, that is all related to a different microorganism, and it would be really nice to do a biological research to determine what kind of organisms are capable to do that. And maybe it would be interesting for science, because maybe they are very light receptive, and who knows what you can, I don't know, can use that. So it would be really nice to do some more exploration there. And this is how Garden of Eden looks like. So we have a forest inside the cave, which is incredible. And we have this huge phytocast, stalagmites in front, and then a jungle. It's kind of strange. We had a botanist with us, and he looked for maybe new plants. He couldn't find any, but every plant is kind of formed in a different way. So that's him researching the plants, and especially the trees. They grow slim. They don't have much light like above. They are tall, maybe 100 feet tall, but very slim and tender. And it's a really, interesting environment, which is kind of different. So they call it morphological plasticity, or phenotypic plasticity, that these plants shape different. So it's not genetically. And this is a little impatiens with a little fruit fly on it. So you find even flowers there. It was really an overwhelming experience to see that and to live in that door line. And also the way back there, I mean, when it was night, I mean, we heard this kind of strange noises. It was a big flapping, and it was echoing everywhere. It was really loud. We couldn't imagine what it is. I mean, we would have thought it's maybe a pterodactylus, like a flying saurus or something like that. But then we thought maybe it's a big owl, but we never saw it. We always listened to it, and it sounded so loud and so, well, you could imagine anything to that. Yeah? So it was a very, very, very weird environment, and to me it was really incredible to witness that. The situation there in this shaft was extraordinary. Sunlight was hitting the ground, it was humid, and whole clouds were rising, and it was like climbing through the skies, climbing through the heaven, and you are in the midst of these cloud formations. That was really something very, very special and amazing to me. I mean, you are like in midst the heaven, captured in a cave. So this was really unusual to just enjoy. And this is how you feel after a trip like this. I mean, you are worn out, and everyone is kind of done, and these are the real stars of our expedition, the porters. They were amazing, and without them it would have been impossible. And there is a big thanks to them, big thanks to National Geographic, big thanks to the British Cave Research Association and all the team. Thank you very much to you as well.